what's going on? Today we are back with another how-to video, but today we're going over leg exercises. My name is Patrick Wilson. I teach fitness in a realistic and understandable way. I go over workouts, I go over nutrition, we do it all here. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe to my channel if you want to see a lot more content like this. But today we're going to go over 3 main leg exercises that a lot of people struggle with, mess up, and want to improve on in order to make more progress on their fitness journey, feel better, look better, be more confident in themselves. The first exercise, actually hold on, let's backtrack a little bit. The 3 exercises we're gonna go over are gonna be RDLs, aka Romanian deadlifts. So I'm not gonna go over deadlifts from the floor today, but we're gonna go over Romanian deadlifts with dumbbells or with barbells. The second one is gonna be squats. So this is gonna be anytime you're doing any back squat, dumbbell goblet squat, any kind of squat you're gonna do. These tips and how I go over it will help. And then we're gonna go over lunges. So just 4 lunges today. So there's likely gonna be a whole other video with other leg exercises in the future, whether that be Bulgarian split squats, reverse lunges, actual deadlifts from the ground, whatever we do, there's gonna be another video. But those are the main 3 we're gonna go over today, and in that order. So with that being said, again, go ahead and like the video. First one's gonna be dumbbell or barbell Romanian deadlifts. So these, first and foremost, your goal with these is you want to target your hamstrings and glutes. That's where you want to feel these the most. So some of the mistakes that people make, or some of the reasons that people struggle with these, is because they say they feel in their back too much, they don't feel it in those areas quite enough. They aren't sure just how to go about it. They're scared to do them because, again, they're worried about hurting their back, their lower back, which is understandable. Unless your form is on point and you feel good, then yeah, it can be a struggle and that could happen, but that's why you're watching this video right now. So first things first, with all these exercises, you want to start off lifting, focusing on your form. Don't worry so much about weight at all. Make sure you're feeling the exercise in the desired area first and foremost, and then from there, once you have your form down, feel good about it, then you can start going up in weight more and more. So with RDL, so first things first, there's like 3 mistakes that people normally always make. One is that they just bend straight down. It's like completely bend straight down. Their back is like completely arched forward. They look like a cat, you know, when you like scratch a cat on its like butt and it like hits, like butt lifts up a little bit. That's what they look like when they do these. Don't do that at all. We're gonna go over obviously how to do it in a second. The next mistake that people make is that they squat down into their RDLs. So they like squat down into it, which like you'll work a little bit of glutes doing it, but it's gonna be like mostly all quads. It's like basically doing like a squat from the ground when you do that. And then the last one is that people oftentimes go down way too far. They're like trying to touch the dumbbells all the way to the ground. And there are select cases where if your form is really good and you're really trying to get a deep hamstring stretch with these, maybe, but that's a way more advanced thing. So when you're just getting started out, and really for most people at any level, no matter what your goal is or where you're at in your fitness journey, this is how you want to do them. So first and foremost, what you want to think about is getting a slight bend in your knees. So you're going to be holding a barbell, holding dumbbells. You want a slight bend in your knees. You don't want to be fully bent like this, just a little slight bend. You don't want to be all the way locked up at the top, locked out at the top. So slight bend in the knees. And then what you want to do first is, before you even start to bend down, do anything, you want to make sure your core is tight. And so when I say tight, I don't mean like you're flexing your abs like you want to show that you have a 6-pack, rather tight like someone is about to punch you in the stomach. So someone's getting ready to punch you in the stomach, you want to make sure your core is like tight, locked, making sure you're ready to go. The next thing is that you want to keep your back kind of flat, straight. So core's tight, back's flat, straight. And then the first thing you want to do is think about pushing your hips back when you're doing RDL. So instead of just bending straight down, think about hips going back, and that's what's going to be the initial motion you start to bend over. So hips back, starting to bend over here. Then from here, once your hips are back and glutes are back and push back, then you can start lowering the weights down. So as you'll notice that as you push your hips and glutes back, you're gonna just automatically kind of go down a little bit. So if you start off here, hips and glutes go back, you're gonna just start to go down. So once you go down right here, you wanna continue to keep your core tight, back tight, and go to about right below your knees. You wanna lower, right below your knees. And then again, knees are slightly bent still, keeping them in that same slightly bent position. You don't wanna bend them more. They'll likely bend a little bit more, but you want to try to keep them as fixed as possible in that initial bent position. So going down to about right here, dumbbells slightly below the knees, you're going to want to feel a stretch in your glutes and hamstrings. That's what you should aim to do, still keeping everything else tight. And then from here, you want to think about driving the weight up through your heels. So almost like you're like trying to drive your whole entire body like through the wall behind you or through the door behind you. So you're going to be going down, drive through your heels, drive it back up. You're going to feel it a lot in your hamstrings and glutes. So that's the steps to do those correctly. What I would do is practice even just with like a water bottle or hold on to something and just practice your form. Think about it, going down through the steps we talked about, driving it back up. You should even just be feeling it right then and there with your hamstrings and glutes, getting that nice mind-muscle connection before you actually go in the gym and start to use heavier and heavier weights. So that's RDLs. Those are a really tough exercise to do. Focus on those 5-6 steps. You're gonna be in a great spot. All right, that was a lot. The next one we're gonna do is squats. So this is an exercise that everyone has done, everyone does. And squats are a little challenging because everyone is a different height, has a different build. Their legs are shorter, longer, torso shorter, longer, whatever. So these can kind of vary and there's no like set in stone rules that you have to follow, but there are some things that will help improve your form, some things to be mindful of. So a couple things, and you're gonna notice that I say this a lot, is that you want to make sure that your core is tight when you're doing these. You don't want to be like slouched over like this because that's like all the weight ends up going on your back, whether you're doing dumbbell squats, barbell squats. So making sure core is tight, it's activated, you're ready to go and make a motion. And then once you're at the bottom of the squat, you want to think about driving through your heels and driving through your midfoot and not getting up on your toes and having to try to squat up on your toes. It's going to put a lot of pressure on your knees. So those are two things that are non-negotiable when you're squatting. You want to make sure you are doing. So let's walk through the steps of how I would teach a squat and how to improve your form. So first things first, core is tight, lower back or back is kind of upright tight. So core is tight, back's tight. What you want to do is you want to think about, again, having your hips go back first a little bit. Too many people just drop straight down. And again, that puts a lot of unnecessary pressure on your knees. Eventually, you're probably gonna run into some kind of injury. So you wanna think about hips going back first. So you're starting here, hips back first. And then once they go back a little bit, then you wanna think about squatting down into it. So hips go back just a little bit and then drop it down. So one thing that I like to say is that you want to think about like sitting back down onto a chair. You're not just gonna drop straight down onto a chair. You're gonna know that it's behind you and you're gonna sit back into it, sit down, or sitting on a toilet, however you wanna think about it yourself. That's how what you wanna do in the kind of first step with it. So then the next thing that you want to be kind of mindful of even before that is kind of where your feet, foot placement are. Some people really like it when their feet are straight ahead and they're squatting down straight ahead. I think for me, it puts a lot of pressure on my lower back and knees, and I don't really like that, and hips as well. So what I normally do is have my feet go outwards just a little bit. They don't need to be like all the way out there, but just like a little bit of like a slight outward motion, or like just slightly positioned outwards. And this helps a lot to get more depth when you squat down, take away pain from your hips, take a lot of the stress off your lower back so you can stay more upright when you're squatting down and actually get a little bit deeper as well. So that's what I do. And honestly, a lot of the people that I've worked with over the years, times when their back is hurt or they're struggling with squats, that's the change we make, and it helps out a lot. So if you're struggling and it hurts to do squats, whether it be your knees, hips, lower back, when your feet are straight ahead, just move them out just a tiny bit. Move your feet out a little bit, position them a little bit more outwards. That will help out a lot. So here we go. So thinking about feet are out now, thinking about your hips going back first, thinking about sitting back onto a toilet. So we're going back into it, squatting down. Most people will say that you need to go below 90 degrees and go ass to grass and go super like all the way down to the bottom of the squat. If you can do that and your flexibility is that good to be able to do it, that's wonderful and fantastic. However, it's not absolutely needed, and there's been different studies that show that if you just go to 90 degrees, just go to like parallel when you're squatting down, so just go into like right here, you're still gonna get damn near the same amount out of it as if you would go way further down. So keep that in mind, that the most important thing is that you're healthy and you're getting to at least 90 degrees and then driving it back up from there. So squatting down to at least 90 degrees. And then the next thing, like we talked about, once you get to the bottom of the squat right here, you want to think about driving up through your heels and like middle of your foot. So about right here, heels, driving back up from there. So those are going to be the main things. Another thing too that I think will help you kind of drive the weight up from the bottom is that when you're about to squat, take a deep breath in. So get ready, and then you keep holding it all the way till you get to the bottom of the squat, and then when you're at the bottom of the squat, breathe out. It kind of helps you explode back up. So putting all of it together, this is roughly what it should look like. Have dumbbell here, barbell here, whatever. Breathe in, sitting back into it, dropping, 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 driving through the heels, keeping core tight, keeping back straight, driving it back up, just like that. So work on your form. Again, you could just do body weight stuff. You could go lighter weights. Before you go heavier and heavier weights though, you want to execute it and make sure you're not feeling it in your lower back and making sure you got your form down right. So last one that we're going to do here, lunges. And I know people absolutely hate these. I think of any exercise that I give my clients, I think lunges are probably the ones that people hate the most and like request that if I give them a choice of like what we're gonna have on the program, what they don't wanna have, they're like, can we please go at least 1 month without lunges? So this is an exercise where, and two reasons. I think one, it's because people's form is a little bit, it's tough to get these down and your knees can hurt a little bit from them. And then two, they're just tough as hell. Like they're really, really challenging. So we're gonna go over how to improve on lunges and how to get your form right with these. So great exercise. First things first with forward lunges, if you are, you can work 2 different parts of your legs a little bit more or less depending on your foot placement. So either way with lunges, you're gonna be working a lot of glutes because you're going down and your glutes are really involved to drive you back up once you're at the bottom. But if you want to work more quads and glutes, you take a shorter step in front of you and you gotta like almost like squat down a little bit more, and it's more quads going into it when you're going back up. If you want to work more hamstrings, you have your leg go a little bit further out in front of you. Your hamstrings are involved a little bit more to drive you back up. So keep that in mind. Whatever you want to work more, what I normally do is just go somewhere in the middle so it's relatively balanced and go from there. So what you want to do is, again, have your core tight, figure out where you're going to step in front of you, and then you want to, first things first is you want to slowly lower yourself down. I think one mistake people make is they're just in such a rush and they're just trying to bang them out as fast as possible. So once you get all of the reps with lunges, you want to take them pretty slow. So especially on the way down, you want to take it slow. So step out in front of you, slowly lower down. And then again, like other leg exercises, you want to think about driving through your heels and midfoot a little bit more, not your tippy toes. You don't want to be trying to drive up from there and get all out of balance, out of whack. So slowly lower down, driving up through your heels and midfoot, keeping core tight, keeping back up, and then driving back up to the top right there. So that's the process and steps that I would take. I think the biggest thing that people struggle with is just not being controlled enough and really, really being rushed. And then also not driving through their heels, and they end up driving through their toes, and it puts a lot of pressure on their knees. So those are the main things. And then one more thing when you're doing lunges, if you are struggling with just like your body weight or using weights, you also can hold on to something too. So it's not cheating if you're holding on to something, especially if you're newer to lunges and want to get your form down. So hold on to something, get the form down. It's gonna be easier to drive up. Like even just now, that felt a lot better for me than when I was just trying to do a body weight. So hold on to something, get your form down, that's perfectly fine. And then from there, you can, as you improve, you can start to just go body weight or add weights to the mix. So those are the 3 main exercises. I am out of breath a little bit. Actually, I feel pretty good right now. I just had a nice little energy drink. I'm ready to go. Let me know what questions you have. Let me know how I can help. If that was valuable whatsoever at all, please like the video, comment, subscribe to my channel, share it with a friend, and we'll be back again soon with more form videos. Until next time, peace.